At our engagement party, she smiled at everyone and said she needed more time before setting a date. So the next morning, I canceled the wedding, walked away without a word, and months later the truth behind her announcement finally came out. Let me get something straight right from the beginning. I have never been the kind of man who accepts disrespect or pretends that it is somehow acceptable. My father taught me early on that while respect from others can be earned or lost over time, the respect you hold for yourself must always be non-negotiable. That principle stayed with me all my life, and when this situation happened, my choice was not about acting out of raw emotion. It was the inevitable conclusion for someone who refuses to compromise his self-worth. Some quick background before the night everything changed. I, 34 years old, met Jenna, 32, at an industry networking event 3 years ago. We were both in sales, though for completely different sectors, so there were no conflicts. I sold enterprise software, and she worked for a marketing firm. We hit it off over drinks, shared a few jokes, and exchanged numbers. That turned into regular calls, then dates, and before long we were officially together. 8 months into our relationship, I landed a promotion that moved me to her city. 6 months after that, we decided to move in together, finding a new apartment that would belong to both of us equally from the start. Our relationship was strong in most ways. We both had good careers, we split all expenses evenly, and we truly enjoyed each other's company. The intimacy was great, conversations came naturally, and our long-term goals lined up well. Marriage seemed like the logical next step. I proposed during a weekend trip to a mountain cabin I had rented through Airbnb. It was nothing overly extravagant, just a quiet, private moment with a breathtaking view after a hike we had been planning for months. She said yes without a second thought. When we returned, we talked about the engagement ring in a way that reflected our shared values. I told her I wanted this to be a true partnership. While traditionally the man buys the ring, I suggested that we both contribute. She loved the idea, saying it represented our equal commitment. We selected a ring together and paid half each. Felt perfectly right for us. Fast forward to our engagement party last month. We had rented a private room at an upscale restaurant and invited about 50 of our closest friends and family. Everyone was dressed up, the champagne was flowing. My parents had flown in from across the country, and her sister had made a beautiful custom photo collage. Everything felt like it was set up for a night of celebration. Dinner was served, and my best friend Jason stood up to make a toast. He said some genuinely touching things about us as a couple, raised his glass, and everyone cheered. Then Jenna stood up. I expected something sweet, maybe a thank you to everyone for coming. Instead, she smiled in a slightly awkward way and said, "Thank you all so much for being here. It means the world to us. I just want to mention, please don't feel pressured to buy gifts yet or make concrete plans. I'm still processing this big step, and I need a bit more time to be sure before we set a date." The room went silent. I felt every eye move between us. My mother's expression dropped, Jenna's father looked down at his shoes, and Jason's wife whispered something to him. I kept a calm expression, but inside I was shocked. She sat down, squeezed my hand under the table, and whispered, "We'll talk later." The party continued, but the mood had shifted. People avoided talking about wedding plans, some guests left earlier than expected, and my parents kept sending me concerned glances. When the last guest left, we got in the car and drove home quietly. I waited until we were alone before speaking. "What was that about?" I asked calmly. She looked at me with a slight tilt of her head and asked, "What was what about?" I took a slow breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. Announcing to everyone that you're not sure about marrying me." She let out a sigh, as if I were making something out of nothing. "That's not what I said. I just said I needed more time before setting a date." I looked straight at her. At our engagement party, in front of everyone we know, after accepting my proposal 2 months ago, she lifted her chin a bit, almost defensively. "I'm being honest. Isn't that what you want? Would you rather I pretend I'm ready if I'm not?" I kept my voice calm but firm. "I would rather you have spoken to me privately about any doubts before accepting the ring, before moving forward with planning a party. and before blindsiding me in front of both of our families. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You're overreacting. I didn't say I don't want to marry you. I just said I need more time. We went back and forth like that for several minutes, her framing it as honesty, almost like publicly humiliating me was supposed to be seen as some kind of virtue. When we finally went to bed, I chose the guest room. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the evening and every key moment of our relationship up to this point. The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about that one announcement. It was about respect, for me, for our relationship, and for the people who had taken the time to celebrate with us. By morning, I had a clear answer in my mind. I had hardly slept, but I knew exactly what I needed to do. I got up early, made a fresh pot of coffee, and waited for her to wake up. When she walked into the kitchen, she gave me a small smile. I looked straight at her and said, "I've been thinking about what you said, about needing more time." Her shoulders relaxed, and she looked relieved. "I'm glad you understand. I interrupted calmly. "I'm canceling the wedding." Her coffee mug stopped mid-air. "What? Not postponing? Canceling? You're saying we're done?" I nodded. She stared at me like she couldn't believe it. "Because I said I need more time? That's extreme, don't you think?" I shook my head slowly. "No. It's not about the time. It's about how you handled it. You chose to embarrass me in front of everyone we care about instead of speaking to me privately. That shows a fundamental lack of respect." Her voice shifted to anger. "So you're throwing away our whole relationship over one comment?" I met her eyes without flinching. "I'm recognizing that someone who would do that isn't someone I want to build a life with. That comment was just the final piece I needed to make this decision." She quickly switched tactics, tears gathering in her eyes. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just nervous, and it came out wrong." "Maybe," I replied. "But when I told you I was hurt, your first instinct wasn't to apologize. It was to tell me I was overreacting. That's not how partners treat each other." She looked at me for a long moment, then said quietly, "So that's it? Just like that?" I nodded once. Just like that. For the next hour, I outlined a practical separation plan. Since we had rented the apartment together and both names were on the lease, neither of us had more claim to it than the other. I offered to move out simply because I wanted a clean break. We agreed to sell the furniture we had bought together and split the proceeds evenly. There was no drama, no revenge, just a straightforward end. She went back and forth between crying, trying to bargain, and getting angry again, but my mind was already set. By that afternoon, I had booked an Airbnb for the next month and started packing my essentials. The following day, I sent a simple group message to everyone who had attended the party. "After careful consideration, Jenna and I have decided not to move forward with our wedding plans. We appreciate your support and understanding of our privacy during this time." Predictably, my phone started lighting up immediately. I answered calls only from my parents and Jason, giving them the shortest version of the truth I could. To everyone else, I repeated that we had made our decision and that I wasn't interested in discussing it any further. Meanwhile, Jenna took a different approach. From what mutual friends told me, she was telling people that I had overreacted to a small moment of honesty, that I was controlling, and that I had anger issues. She even told some that she had dodged a bullet. I chose not to respond to any of it. I did not post on social media, I did not try to control the story, and I did not let myself get dragged into petty arguments. I just focused on moving forward with my life. And as I stood there in the silence of that empty apartment, my heart felt like it was hanging in the air, caught between the reality of what had just happened and the memories of what I thought we had. The previous night was supposed to be a celebration of love, commitment, and a shared future that we had been building for years. Instead, it had turned into a moment that felt like a knife being slowly twisted into my chest. I replayed her words in my head over and over again. "I just need more time before setting a date." And the smile she gave as if nothing was wrong. Everyone at that party had laughed, clapped, and raised their glasses. But I saw something behind her eyes that no one else noticed. It wasn't hesitation out of shyness. It was distance. It was like she had already stepped away from me long before she actually spoke those words. The morning after, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that had gone cold long before I took the first sip. The apartment was too quiet, and the sunlight streaming through the window felt almost mocking, like the world was going on as usual while mine was collapsing. I thought about the nights we had spent talking about our future, the house we wanted, the trips we would take, the children we might have someday. I thought about the way she used to hold my hand in crowded places, as if she was proud to claim me as hers. And now she wasn't ready to even set a date. That wasn't just about the wedding. That was about us. That was about everything. I didn't make a scene. I didn't beg. I didn't demand an explanation. Instead, I did what I knew in my gut was the only thing left to do. I opened my laptop, pulled up the wedding planning documents we had spent months creating, and one by one, I canceled every single thing. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, the florist. Every deposit we had paid was either refunded or written off without a second thought. It wasn't about the money. It was about removing every single thread that tied me to a future she clearly didn't want. By the time she got back that evening, the apartment was almost bare of anything that spoke of a wedding. The invitations were gone. The dress receipts were gone. The ring box was sitting on the coffee table, the ring inside exactly where she had left it the night before. She walked in, saw the table and froze. Her eyes moved from the ring to me, and she opened her mouth to say something, but I didn't give her the chance. I simply said, "It's done." Those two words hung in the air like a final curtain falling on a play that should have ended long ago. And as I sat there in the quiet of my apartment that evening, I realized something that hit me hard but also brought me a strange sense of calm. The truth had always been lurking beneath the surface, and her words at the engagement party had only pulled away the curtain for everyone to see. She had not been asking for more time because she needed to plan a better wedding or because she wanted things to be perfect. She had been asking for more time because she had already decided that I was not the person she wanted to marry. The only difference now was that she could no longer hide behind smiles, empty promises, and careful excuses. I had walked away before she had the chance to tear me apart completely, and for that I was grateful. Weeks turned into months, and every now and then, I would hear from friends or see through social media that she was already moving on, posting pictures that tried to show she was living her best life. But I knew those images were just another mask, the same kind she wore at our engagement party. The truth about her announcement had slipped out quietly, that she had been seeing someone else even before she put that ring on her finger. It was not a sudden change of heart. It was a decision she had made long ago, and knowing that made it easier to keep my head high and my heart guarded. Looking back, I do not see that night as a loss, but as the beginning of a new chapter, one where I am no longer tied to someone who could so easily pretend to love me while planning a future without me. I had canceled the wedding, closed the door, and chosen my own peace over the comfort of denial. And even though it hurt, even though it changed the course of my life, it also set me free in a way I never expected. Some goodbyes are not meant to be gentle. They are meant to be final. And this one was exactly that.